Tonight I'm at Fantastic Fest for the world premiere of Smile. The trailers for the movie have been pretty generic, so I don't have the highest expectations for this film, but it's always fun to be at a world premiere. Hopefully it'll put a smile on my face. I'm gonna go see the movie, then I'm gonna let you know what I thought. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your excitement level for the movie Smile, and if you've seen it, what did you think about it? Real quick before I get started, I did see this movie at the world premiere, and that's about as exciting of an environment to watch a film for the first time. Before I went into the theater, I was 10 feet away from the red carpet where the director, the star, walked down. After the movie was over with, they did a Q&A. You're in a theater with people that love this genre, that went to the film festival to see movies like this. You kind of leave the theater and you're talking with fun and interesting people about the film. That's like the best possible way to enjoy a genre film like this. So anytime you hear kind of the first reviews coming out of the film festival, keep in mind they saw it in the most exciting context possible. With that said, let's get started with the good. And this is a movie I went into without the highest expectations. The trailer looked pretty generic to me, and I'm happy to say the movie was quite a bit better than I was expecting. A big part of that is that the movie's does a great job of kind of building this atmosphere of discomfort from the very beginning. It creates this unsettling situation, and with the sound design, the music cues, and the way it just kind of disorients the audience by putting us in the perspective of the lead character, you're constantly on unease from the very beginning. So much of the story kind of deals with this blend of you're not sure what's real and what's not, and what's happening and what's just kind of a vision in her head, who's there, who isn't really there. And that's the kind of experience of the lead character, and all the people around her are questioning what's kind of going on with her. And as the audience member, you're in the middle of that. You feel all that tension. So a normal scene of dialogue, you're waiting to figure out, is there about to be a twist in the turn? Is this really happening? Is there gonna be a jump scare? And then it'll build that tension, and maybe it's fine. And it constantly plays with the audience's expectations. And because it has this element of not knowing what's real and what's not, it's able to get really trippy as the kind of movie goes further and further, and the kind of creature in it starts messing with the girl's mind more and more. It messes with the audience more and more, and it provides opportunity for kind of a bigger story with more interesting things happening than I initially thought from the trailer. The trailer just makes it look like someone sees smiles everywhere and then a head falls off. It's a lot more interesting than that. It has a lot more layers to it than that. And there are kind of creature elements in it that were done practically. The director talked about that afterwards, where he pushed really hard to get the budget and kind of convince some top level creature designers involved in the story. And so the trailer doesn't want to give too much away, and I think in doing so makes it seem more generic and mediocre than it actually is. There's quite a bit more going on here than the trailers let on to initially. Another nice touch here is the movie has just the right amount of humor kind of sprinkled in. And it's not like a laugh-a-minute joke film. It's a movie that has a very somber, intense tone from beginning to end. But every 5-10 minutes, there's just like a little joke that kind of feels organic, of people kind of responding to her, something like that, that just breaks the tension just enough that we're not in this monotonous, dreary tone from beginning to end. It's not overdone. It's not like a movie you describe, oh, it's really funny. No. There's just enough sprinkled in there to break the monotony of the constant tension in the film. Another nice touch in here is it does try and build out our lead character to where she's not just this paper thin cardboard cutout of a human that's just on the run. It kind of incorporates her backstory with ideas about trauma and living with regret and the pain that comes with trauma, incorporates that in with kind of the supernatural elements that are taking place in the film, and just making for a more well-rounded character that you care more about. You know about her history, her family, and you are on an emotional journey with her as she's kind of processing through a lot of different things through this horrifying situation that she's found herself in. And as it is a horror film, there are just little bursts of gore and like nasty images, and it does it in a way where it just kind of shocks you with something and kind of cuts away and you're like, whoa, that just happened. And once again, kind of pulling into the experience of the lead character of just being shocked by what's in front of you. And so it's just a little bit, so when the gore happens, it actually kind of sticks out, it pops. And I'll say this, once the movie ended, there was a lot of conversations from in the hallways of people comparing it to The Ring, and the one that I heard the most was It Follows, and most of the people using that language were doing so favorably. It was a movie that I think everyone was kind of surprised that it was much better than they were expecting it to be based on the trailers for the film. It's a better executed version of this type of film. There's more layers to it. There's better characters. The atmosphere is better. The tension is better. The jump scares are better than I think most of us were expecting from the trailer. With that said, it did remind me of quite a few films before, so let's move on to the bad. And the big thing here is exactly what I just mentioned. It feels like a lot of movies. It's the sort of one where you kind of go, yeah, it's kind of like Final Destination, it's kind of like The Ring, it's kind of like It Follows. It's another one of those movies where something happens to a person and then death follows them around and they're trying to figure out how to survive death. That movie's been done many times before, and there's some excellent versions of it. There's some garbage versions of it, and this is a pretty good version of it. It's the director himself has plenty of talent and kind of can execute things nicely to have the right atmosphere and everything, but it does feel very familiar. That was the other conversation that was happening in the hallway. It was like, yeah, it was like all those things, and that's kind of a good thing, and that's also kind of the biggest problem here of it's just another one of these kind of movies. I would say it also dragged a little bit in the middle, where once you kind of get in the midst of it and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, right, it's getting worse, she's losing her mind, people don't believe her. Okay, let's get to it. Where are we kind of going with some of this? And other one was with the mythology that's established in the film, with the rules that it sets up and what it lets you know. It felt like there were multiple other endings to the film that would have been a lot more satisfying. As an audience member, I was going, oh, okay, I bet they're gonna, maybe it'll be kind of like this and it'll play out like this. And I think I know where this is headed. That could be pretty cool. That could be very satisfying. And then it just kind of plays out the way that all of the movies like this kind of play out. I don't want to give away the end of the movie, but if you've seen enough horror films, you tend to know how this usually works. And that was disappointing because it felt like built into the mythology. There's just several more interesting ways to end the film that have more layers to them, more intrigue, and are smarter and more satisfying. At the end of the day, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was good, but it is familiar. I think the trailers make it look more generic than it actually is. It has more to offer on almost every single level, but it is a type of movie that is very familiar as you're watching it. But when I looked at the Twitter responses, a bunch of people were absolutely loving this movie coming out of it. But granted, once again, we were coming out of the world premiere, and that's a very exciting context under which to see a film. Overall, it's a B- on the entertainment scale, a 6.5, and if you like this type of horror movie, it's probably worth checking out, but you don't need to rush out to the theater to see it. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below with your thoughts on the film, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.